Is it that the three of us don't satisfy you, or we don't cook well, or even run errands for you, that made you to go and choose a new wife?
So your mouth is wrong enough now to challenge me. You have the audacity to question my right to marry a
What did
Did anybody ask me before I married you?
Oga said he won't wed me until I get pregnant.
No, that's not right.
That's not right, but it's okay.
Do you know what's actually insane? Old Nollywood literally raised an entire generation of African girls. I am so serious. Every African household had a TV playing Nollywood at some point. The drama, the soundtracks, the village witches, the wicked mother-in-laws, the crying scene that lasted 17 business days. My days, I love Nollywood. And somehow we all, me being all, watched it religiously. Especially young African girls, because old Nollywood wasn't just entertainment, it was social conditioning. Yeah, I'm here to break the bad news, because it really taught us what a good woman looked like and what a bad woman looked like, how wives were supposed to behave, what happens to women who become too proud, and what society believed women deserve. And I've been rewatching these films as an adult now, because the new ones now are the same script. I mean, the old ones are the same script as well, to be fair. I genuinely cannot believe some of the messages they were feeding us.
Did you not see what your daughter is wearing?
Is this how a wife, a well-brought-up girl should dress?
And before we get into all of that, hey, my name is Sunshine, and on this channel we unpack culture, identity, beauty, politics, African media, relationships, you name it. So if that does sound like your kind of conversations, please subscribe. I'm a yapper and I love yapping, so let's form a community of yappers and yap in the comment section. Grew up on Nollywood, I know you have some memories. I know some of you were terrified of patience. I know some of you still hear those really dramatic sound effects in your sleep. I know I did. And I know some of you are about to start naming movies that traumatized your childhood, because I have like 50. One thing old Nollywood village movies loved doing was creating two categories of women: the good woman and the dangerous woman. The good woman was always submissive, patient, forgiving. Oh, the good woman was forgiving. Jesus, very forgiving, quiet, long-suffering, domestic, and very, very prayerful. Even when her husband was horrible, or simply put, even when he was emotionally abusive, the woman suffering became proof of her virtue, you know, and the audience was expected to admire her endurance. I mean, to be honest, when I was younger, I admired it as well. Slightly questioned it, but admired still. We didn't question why she had to suffer in the first place to prove she was a good woman, but we just accepted it. And then there was the bad woman, which I probably would be considered the bad woman, the outspoken woman, the one that was very ambitious, who educated herself or went out of her way to get education, would be referred to as the city girl, the fashionable woman, the woman who challenged male authority. And somehow these women were always punished, especially women who moved to the city and became one of these women. Old Nollywood had a deep suspicion of modern women. The city women were usually portrayed as disrespectful, materialistic, sexually corrupt in general, arrogant, and spiritually dangerous. Let's not forget the spiritual part. And if she returned to the village, oh, the movie was gonna humble her immediately, because many of these films treated female independence like a moral failure.
Helen is bad news.
Bad news.
Helen has slept with almost everything in trousers around our neighborhood. So I don't want you to have anything to do with her.
Or even worse, a spiritual problem. Meanwhile, the men could, should, and did cheat, scream at women, marry multiple wives, abandon their families in the village, in the city, in London, name it, manipulate women, become controlling, and still somehow ended up respected by everybody at the end of the movie. Sometimes the wife would literally apologize to him in the final scene. Like, excuse me. And honestly, rewatching these films now feels disturbing, because you realize how much they romanticize female suffering, especially in marriage storylines. Old Nollywood pushed this idea that a woman's greatest achievement was marriage. Not peace, not happiness, not fulfillment. Simply put, marriage.
In that car is my standby wife. Sweetheart! Sweetheart! Now listen, Njideka. If this lady gets here and holds me, I'll take her to the altar. But if you change your mind and get here before she does, I'll wed you.
Praise the living God! And if you were unmarried as a woman, the film made you feel like your life was basically incomplete, or that you were troublesome, lonesome, or depressed. There was constant pressure for women to endure, tolerate, sacrifice, preserve the marriage at all costs. And if your husband was a horrible person, pray for him, because he can be redeemed, but you can't. Even when the marriage itself was quite literally destroying the woman. And this reflects real society pressure too. Across many African cultures, women are still heavily socialized to see marriage as proof of success, maturity, respectability, and womanhood itself. Like, marriage defines womanhood. That pressure becomes even stronger with age. I mean, I am Guinean Sierra Leonean, and I experience that pressure on a daily. I'm just 27 though. Let my family tell you I'm 35 and I'm a witch if I don't get married by next year, and I don't stop saying I hate men. I don't even hate men. I love men. As I was saying, that pressure becomes even stronger with age, especially once a woman touches her late 20s or 30s unmarried. And Nollywood reflected that anxiety constantly, like constant. The unmarried woman in Nollywood was often portrayed as desperate, spiritually cursed, incomplete, bitter, too career focused, too difficult. And let's just say that that wasn't the case. She would be prayerful, waiting for marriage, and then her miracle will come at the end of the film.
Her husband saw her despite her old age, still loved her because she was a good woman who cleaned and cooked.
If a woman was successful in a Nollywood film, the film often punished her for it emotionally. There's actual research discussing how Nollywood repeatedly portrayed powerful or independent women as dangerous and doomed for destruction. Do you know how crazy that is? That's so huge, because media shapes cultural expectations, especially for children, especially for girls. I know this because I experienced it. And honestly, you can see this pattern everywhere in old Nollywood films, and to be honest, in some new films as well. I'm side-eyeing some of these creators. But let's take Glamour Girls, for example. The film revolves around financially independent women navigating Lagos outside traditional control. And they're immediately associated with danger, moral corruption, and sexual deviance. Or, I don't know if you guys remember The Narrow Path. I don't know if I'm getting it right, but the entire film centers around virginity, purity, and the social consequences attached to a woman's body. Even films around infertilities, the storylines, my God, the amount of Nollywood films her worth was directly tied to childbirth was genuinely insane. If she couldn't conceive, immediately replacement, spiritual blame, emotional abuse. And it's so crazy to me because in these films, it's wild how the male infertility was never explored with the same intensity, because old Nollywood constantly reinforced the idea that women were responsible for preserving family, morals, fertility, peace, and marriage altogether. And if any of these things collapsed, the woman was blamed first. And honestly, we need to discuss the older women too, because nobody embodied old Nollywood better than Mama G.
She a baddie, she showing her panties. She shake it like jelly. 100 bands of Chanel.
And as a kid, we were taught to fear her character. She was always the wicked mother-in-law, the jealous elder, the manipulator, the woman doing juju, the spiritual dangerous woman, really, for lack of a better word.
You bloody witch! Who is a witch? You bloody witch!
Yes, your choice to challenge me this day will cripple you. It will cripple you.
You will soon meet with your death.
You are the one to die, and I will personally kill you.
Did you say you report me to the Igwe? Yes. I will appreciate it if you said you report me to my nation's son, because he is more of a man than your so-called Igwe.
And watching it as an adult now, I know you guys would have been seeing the clips all over TikTok. I actually think many of her characters represents what happens when women survive patriarchy long enough to become hardened by it.
Ma, how much do you have in your account?
I don't have any bank account.
You don't have any bank account?
No.
You're very stupid. You want to tell me that since you got married to this man, you don't have any savings?
But Mama, I can always go to Patrick if I need anything. He's always giving me...
Keep quiet and listen. If you have any problem with him, where will you get money to take care of yourself?
Mama, I don't pray to have problems with my husband now.
Look at you. I don't blame you. Nothing has happened to you.
That bitterness didn't appear from nowhere. A lot of these women were a product of polygamy, emotional neglect, abandonment, poverty, male favoritism, and just survival politics, honestly. But instead of criticizing the system hurting women, the film often turned women into each other's enemies, mother-in-law versus wife, village girl versus city girl, first wife versus second. Women become each other's punishment, and honestly, that's one of the saddest things about old Nollywood, because underneath all the humor, drama, there was a lot of female pain. And what's interesting is that newer Nollywood is slowly starting to challenge some of these ideas. I say slowly because there's still some creators out there doing wagga wagga. Films like Dry directly address child marriages, violence against girls, and the long-term consequences of forcing girls into adult roles too early. So the industry is evolving. It may be at a slower pace, but it is evolving. But I still think revisiting old Nollywood critically is important, because so many of us grew up taking in their messages without realizing it. A lot of African girls were taught love means suffering, and I genuinely think that idea damaged people deeply, because the ideal woman in old Nollywood often had no boundaries, no anger, no selfishness, no complicity, and simply just sacrifice, a doormat for lack of better words. And I think that's why these films hit differently when you rewatch them as an adult woman, because now you can see the politics underneath the entertainment. And honestly, I really want the comments on this video to become a giant African cultural archive. Like, tell me, what Nollywood movie traumatized you as a child? Which actress used to scare you the most? What messages did you notice now as an adult that completely went over your head as a kid? And do you think that old Nollywood shaped how African women view relationships and marriages today? Because I do. I genuinely think it did. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share it, because I'm definitely making a part 2 where we analyze a very particular Nollywood character and storyline in depth, because I want to talk about this. I rewatched this again and I was shooketh. I think old Nollywood honestly deserves both an academic study, and we all just need to come together and have a therapy session. That Billionaire Club, that one scared me the most. I'm not even gonna act. That scared me. But yeah, I will hopefully make a part 2. I'll see you guys around. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and see you in my next video.